Welcome to the Scott Townsend Show, brought to you by Pizza Man Productions.
How do you say, repeat back to me what I just said without sounding condescending or kind of like a jerk?
I would say, as a leader, it depends what you're addressing, but it's, let's say you go and talk to somebody who works in the front line, and you said, we have this new process that's been put in place. What's your take on this? And not explain it back to me. What's your take on this? How do you, and see what comes back, and be very inquisitive in the question to make them explain the process back to you, to make sure that, when the process went through all the different levels of the org chart, by the time it gets to the bottom line, it's been understood. But, before that, I would say, here's where, if it's in the case of a new process, I should hope that most leaders would know to, involve the people on the ground to put the process together in the first place. And that's, when you do that, you've already won, the battle. And it's interesting because my husband and I, we're consulting now with a lot of organization, and our goal is always to have them come up with the solutions instead of us coming as those two outside consultants who tell you, oh, let us tell you what you need to do with your
Right.
business. You've been working here 20 years, but here we are. We've been here 2 weeks working with you, and now we know exactly what you need to do. There's nothing more frustrating than this. So the challenge for a consultant, or somebody who starts, even a new leader in an organization, is, even if you know exactly what the answer is, make them say it first. Involve them in the solution. It's same with kids. Kids ask you questions all the time, and I think the best thing a parent can do when they ask those, inquisitive questions, is says, well, what do you think? And see what they do, because it forces them to develop their critical thinking. It allows them to, give way to their imagination and creative minds. And oh boy, the answers that come back are just, priceless. I mean, some of the stories that kids tell you, I think in the book, I tell the story of, we lived in Florida at the time, and space shuttle took off, and my oldest son, they were seeing one of the rockets take off, and he said, he was probably 7 years old at the time, and he said, I wonder what happens if something goes wrong with the space shuttle, what they do about it. And my 3.5-year-old, 4-year-old daughter went like, well, with tape, with Scotch tape. For her, it was just so obvious. But, letting them just spill out those things is just wonderful. And then you can engage in a conversation. Yeah, well, Margot would say, how do you think that would work? And then she would launch in this whole explanation in her little mind. She knew exactly that, maybe there's something starts shifting and there's a crack somewhere, you put a piece of tape on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you think the astronauts have that in their toolbox? Oh, yes, they have, and then you have this beautiful, thoroughly entertaining conversation with your kids. So it's the same with people in an organization. Give them the opportunity to say their piece, to contribute, and I think they will. And even if the ideas are not worth it, or are not the right answers, always thank them. Hey, thanks for your contribution. Now let me explain to you why I think that may not be the right answer, or that may not be the right interpretation. And now you have a dialogue, right? You have this back and forth communication. So again, very simple things. I'm not reinventing the wheel here, but I can't stress enough the fact that we tend to, leap over all those basic principles because we're so focused on whatever outcome we're looking for.